Okay, students, this is assignment number 7, and in this assignment we have a couple of videos in there that relate to photography as a technology and to photography as an art, and I would like you to view both of those. And I think it's important information to understand the context of where photography comes from and how it fits into the world of art. This is an art course, and that's just kind of makes sense. So do that, and then the actual shooting assignment relates to portraits. So let's start by reviewing what is a portrait. A photograph of a person or a group of people. And the intent of a portrait is to capture the personality of the subject, to use the tools of photography such as lighting and your various camera settings to create a special image that is a portrait. Most portrait photography is actually about the face. So learning how to make a subject that is actually distinguished in your portrait by, again, the use of some of the technical aspects as well as your own creativity. That's portraiture. A portrait is actually a partnership between the photographer and the subject. The subject is sometimes known as a model or a poser, but they're working together to create the image. And so there's creative elements on both the part of the photographer and on the subject. So working together is how you get a portrait. Now, a portrait, again, is not a candid shot, although in many efforts of photography to create a great portrait, the image that comes out looks like it could be a candid, so it's not actually a candid shot, although the way it's set up, it can be controlled and yet look like a candid shot. So what are you going to shoot for this assignment? You're going to turn in a total of 12 photographs. The first set of these will be in what I call an environmental setting. That doesn't necessarily mean you go outside, but it's a portrait where the environment where the subject is placed is a very important part of the photograph itself. So the idea here is to find a setting that would reflect the subject's personality. Now, again, you're going to be using people and putting them into some kind of situation. It doesn't have to be real. So if you want to shoot your cousin and your cousin loves horses, then that can work. But if you can't find a horse and you're shooting your cousin, come up with something else. The point is to create an environmental setting and to put your subject in it, and then use your tools to get a good photograph. There really isn't going to be a whole lot of lighting manipulation or other technical things with this particular setting, but there could be. In fact, if you read in some of the material that is in the folder, both the articles and the videos, you'll see that this setting is critical to creating a lot of kinds of portraits. So I've got some examples here, and so here's this happy guy, and he is in his environment here, some kind of a deli or something like that. And then this gentleman here is outside, maybe he's in Ireland or something like that. And then this is an environmental setting. Of course, this is a wedding photograph. And so what are the environmental elements? Well, mostly it's the clothes they're wearing, because this is in pretty close, so we can, again, focus on their faces. Now the second set of 3 photographs will be in a more constructed setting. So for this, you're going to actually create something. I would encourage you to think in terms of using some lighting. It could be natural lighting, it could be artificial lighting, it could be reflected lighting. Again, watch the videos. There's a kind of a long video in there called a one light setup. And I really want you to watch that, and it is longer than most any video you'll watch in this class, but it really shows you exactly how a professional portrait photographer works, and that's why I want you to see it. But you can see how in that particular video that the photographer is using a set, and the set doesn't have to be fancy. In fact, it's a very minimalist set in that particular video, but you're using lighting techniques in that set that do different things. So see what you can do on that. Also, you can look in terms of how you frame your subject in some fashion, and props are really a good element to this too. Now here's three. Now this first one over here, you know, this kind of pushes the concept of portrait a little bit, because the subject is actually pretty small in here. So I just wanted to present this as a way of showing something really creative here. So this natural tree and this sort of hollowed out area under the tree, this is not where you would necessarily expect to see a woman in kind of a chiffon dress in there, but that is well thought out, and that's really what the constructed image is. So in this particular one, the way that this individual has these elements on the body makes that a constructed one. This is a very simple one right here, but I think it's really effective. Look at the background. It's just very simple. Now what you can see on this though is the importance of lighting. And so there's a lot of light that's coming from the left side. And you can see, because over here on the face, it's practically white. And over on the shadow side over here, it's much darker. The background reflects this as well. But this is a really interesting photograph. It's very simple because it's just using this one prop element. This one's way more complex, and this one's just kind of odd, but it's cool. Alright, so then the third here is what I just call candid portraits, and these are the ones that you're going to put somebody into a situation and they're going to look like they're natural and that you're catching them at just that magic moment, capture the moment sort of thing. But in reality, it's planned. This is you and your sitter, your poser, your subject. You'll have to come up with what you're going to do. I've got some examples here. And so here we have this kid, and this certainly could be a wedding kind of photograph here. Again, notice the lighting more on the left side than on the right, and it just looks like this is a captured image that could have been candid. In fact, what they probably did was just to shoot a lot of photographs of this girl doing her thing with dandelions or whatever these are right here. This second photograph is very striking, and again you've got a lighting element. It's coming, the light's coming down from this direction because you can see the top of her leg here and on her face over here, and it's very shadowy back here. But what really makes this interesting is two things. One, she has a prop, a guitar, and then the other is the angle. So this is taken from where the photographer is literally above the subject, and that's kind of a different thing. You might want to think about that because it's a kind of creative thing to do. And then this third one down here, this is just kind of a typical almost glamour style of photo, but again it looks like it's candid, like it's just captured her at that particular moment. One of the things you may want to think about with your subject is using the hand, and where the hand touches the face is often a way to sort of frame the face. I don't think this is quite as effective because it actually kind of covers the face, but the other element I want to show you here is how out of focus her face is. Very in focus, very sharp. That's what it needs to be. If you want to really shoot a photograph and make it a great photograph, you typically are going to focus on the eyes, and everything else, if it falls off in terms of its focus, is fine. In fact, it's an effect that's highly desired in portrait photography. It's sometimes referred to as bokeh or bokeh, B-O-K-E-H, and there's a video or article or two on that in your readings and videos. And then the final thing, I just want you to do 3 more photos and just pick 3 good portraits. Don't take them all 3 from the same setting, but you could take 1 from each of these other 3 assignment areas: the environmental, the constructed, and the candid. And just show me some stuff. Be creative. So I have a couple of examples here. This one I think is a very effective portrait. It's extremely simple. Again, a little bit more light on this side, but it's pretty much lit right at her, more so than anything. It does fall off to darkness around here, and that's part of the effect. This is a really interesting photo, and it's a constructed photo, and it's got like almost like eggshell that probably was glued onto the subject's face, and it's definitely a different way of treating a subject, but it's interesting. This one over here is kind of a trick, because as you can see, it took a lot of planning, because first the photographer had to shoot a photograph and then print it and cut the thing in a way that it looks like it's a book, and then hold the book in exactly the right position so that the photograph really makes it seem like it's all one, but on the other hand, you can see this part of the image, and the face is actually on a book. So that was pretty creative in my opinion. So this is it. This is assignment number 7. You're going to shoot 12 photographs, one of them in this environmental setting. This is where you're going to go out and really find the right kind of environment to put somebody in, and do a minimal amount of lighting, and just see what you can get that way. The second one is a little more contrived, because you're going to use definitely use props. You're probably going to do some kind of more creative attempt at lighting, and you can get kind of weird with this type of stuff too, which is fine. Remember, art is really to stretch people out, and if somebody were to look at this and say, "Oh, that's silly," well, in a way it is silly, but it also evokes some different feelings among different people. Same with these. And then the candid, this is where you're going to have a setting, and you're really going to try to make it seem like you're not actually taking a planned and posed photograph, but you are taking a planned and posed photograph. So see what you can do on that, and then just give me 3 others. Don't give me 3 from the same thing that you have up here, but some other portraits. So that's it. That's the entire exercise, and if you have any questions, please let me know.